Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into some sources about power, control, and how society is shaped.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, we've got excerpts from a conversation with two people who've clearly done their research. They're breaking down how those in power might be pulling the strings.
What I find fascinating is how these sources go beyond just saying things are happening and actually dig into the specific techniques they think are being used to manipulate people.
Like a blueprint.
Yeah, kind of. It's like a possible blueprint.
It makes you wonder how much of what we think and do is actually influenced by forces we're not even aware of.
Right.
Like, these sources talk about the illusion of choice. This idea that we think we're making our own decisions, but maybe we're being nudged in certain directions.
Makes you think.
It really does.
Yeah.
Music, TV shows, even what we buy. Are these choices really ours, or are they being shaped by someone else's agenda?
That's a key question, isn't it?
Right.
Like, are we really in control?
These sources suggest that manufacturing consent is all about making people think they're choosing something when they've already picked the options.
That's wild.
Like that example from the 1960s with the rise of pop rock music.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't just a cultural phenomenon.
Right.
Some saw it as a way to, create this generation gap and redefine values.
Interesting.
Separate young people from their families and weaken those traditional social structures.
Wow.
Does that seem plausible to you?
Well, it's a pretty provocative idea.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, and it kind of ties into this recurring theme.
Yeah.
The Hegelian dialectic.
Okay.
Ever feel like we just go from one crisis to the next? And then there's always a convenient solution waiting in the wings.
Oh, yeah.
This suggests that these crises might be intentionally created
Oh, wow.
to get a reaction out of people.
Like fear, outrage, whatever.
Exactly. So then the public will just accept whatever solution is given.
So you're saying these crises aren't just happening naturally?
That's what the sources are saying, yeah.
Someone might be orchestrating them. That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah.
What kind of evidence is there to support that?
Well, they point to examples like funding both sides of a conflict.
What?
Like some sources say Western capitalists actually financed communist movements.
No way.
Yeah, like a controlled opposition kind of thing.
So they're funding the very thing they're supposed to be fighting.
That's what the sources suggest.
What would be the point of that?
They say it was about maintaining a global power dynamic. If they back both sides, they can keep the conflict going.
Wow.
Keep everyone distracted and dependent on them for the solution.
So it's all about control.
Seems like it.
It's a pretty chilling thought.
It is, that these global conflicts might be orchestrated by those who profit from it.
Wow. What about more recent examples?
They talk about the economic crisis.
Oh, okay.
You know, the one fueled by sending all the manufacturing jobs overseas.
Right.
They say that was a deliberate strategy to cripple Western economies.
To what end?
Well, to create dependency.
Okay.
And to put more wealth and power in the hands of a select few.
So it wasn't just a result of market forces.
That's what these sources claim.
That's a heavy accusation.
Yeah, it is.
What about things like terrorism or natural disasters? Do they suggest those are being manipulated too?
They don't really go that far.
Okay.
At least not in these excerpts. But they do talk about how fear and chaos are used to push agendas that would be resisted during calmer times.
So they exploit the situation.
Exactly. Like after 9/11, the fear and panic was used to justify a lot of policies.
What kind of policy?
Policies that eroded civil liberties
Oh, wow.
and expanded government power.
Starting to paint a pretty unsettling picture here.
Yeah.
Who are these powers they keep talking about?
They use terms like shadow government,
Okay.
and they talk about groups like the Council on Foreign Relations. They operate behind the scenes, influencing policy, pushing a globalist agenda.
Shadow governments. Secret agendas.
Right. It sounds a bit like a conspiracy theory,
It does.
but it's certainly intriguing.
How much power can these groups really have?
I mean, that's what they want us to think about.
We still have democratic processes.
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
They say even elected officials are often beholden to these networks.
So it's like the system is rigged.
That's what the sources are suggesting.
Where did these groups come from?
Well, they suggest they have a long history.
Like how far back?
They trace them back centuries through organizations like the Royal Society and the Rosicrucians.
Wait, Rosicrucians?
Yeah,
That sounds like something out of a history book.
I know, right?
They're suggesting these ancient groups are still operating today.
That's what it seems like.
Wow.
They've evolved and adapted, maintaining their influence through institutions and networks.
What kind of networks?
They talk about the British East India Company,
Okay.
not just as a trading company,
What else?
but as an example of corporate power intertwined with secret societies. They claim the people behind the East India Company were connected to the Rosicrucians,
Really?
and they later influenced Freemasonry.
Okay, this is starting to feel like we're going down a rabbit hole
I
here.
know.
Secret societies, ancient orders, global conspiracies.
It's wild.
It's hard to know what's real and what's not.
Definitely.
It's making me think about the world in a different way.
That's the point, right?
To challenge our assumptions.
Yeah.
Make us question what we've been told.
It's about opening our minds to new possibilities.
Before we get too lost in all this,
Yeah.
these sources also talk about a psychopathic elite.
Uh-huh.
What do they mean by that?
It's a disturbing concept.
Okay.
They suggest that people with psychopathic tendencies are drawn to power.
Psychopaths running the world.
That's what they seem to be implying.
Sounds like a horror movie.
I know, right?
Why would psychopaths be drawn to power?
Well, they lack empathy. They
Mhm.
crave control,
Okay.
and they exploit others.
Ah, that's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
But are they saying all powerful people are psychopaths?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
They're just saying there might be a higher concentration in positions of power.
Interesting.
Like it's a self-selecting system.
So the nature of power attracts these types of people.
Yeah, that's the idea.
How could we even know if they're really psychopaths?
Well, these sources aren't making clinical diagnoses.
Right.
They're looking at patterns of behavior,
Okay.
analyzing their words and actions.
Hmm.
And they say it suggests a worldview that puts power and control above everything else.
I can see how that would be concerning.
Yeah.
If they're right, what can we do about it?
Well, that's something we'll explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But these sources do offer some hope.
Oh, good.
They suggest that by understanding their tactics and their motives, we can start to see through their illusions.
So knowledge is power.
Exactly.
By understanding how it all works, we can reclaim our agency.
That's the idea.
So we've uncovered some disturbing stuff about power and how it might be concentrated and wielded.
Yeah, for sure.
But if these sources are right, and we're not just powerless pawns, what can we do about it?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
It is.
But I think the first step is realizing that we're not as powerless as we might feel.
Okay.
The sources suggest that these power structures, they rely on us.
On us?
Yeah, on our compliance, our apathy,
Okay.
our belief in their narratives.
So what can we do?
Maybe one of the most powerful things is to just start questioning everything.
So it's about being more critical thinkers.
Exactly.
Not just accepting everything we're told.
Right. Be discerning.
With information.
Yeah, exactly.
Diversify our sources.
Uh-huh.
Look for different perspectives.
Don't be afraid to challenge the mainstream narrative.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like taking back control
Yes.
of the information we let into our minds.
Exactly.
But what about the emotional side of things?
Hmm.
These sources talk about how fear and anger are used to manipulate us.
That's right.
How do we deal with that?
Well, that's where self-awareness comes in.
Okay.
They want us to react emotionally,
Okay.
those in power,
Right.
because it makes us easier to control.
So we need to be aware of our own triggers.
Exactly.
Like when we feel that fear or anger,
Uh-huh.
we need to pause
Take a step back.
and ask ourselves,
Is this reaction serving me?
or is it serving someone else's agenda?
Exactly.
So developing emotional resilience,
Yes.
not letting them push our buttons,
That's it.
control our reactions.
It's not easy.
I bet.
It takes practice,
Right.
but it's essential if we want to break free from these patterns.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this can empower us as individuals. But what about collective action?
Yeah.
Can we really make a difference on our own?
I think it's both.
Both.
Yeah, like individual transformation is important,
Okay.
but collective action is what amplifies our impact.
So we need to work together.
The sources talk about the importance of connecting with like-minded people.
Finding our tribe.
Yeah, building communities of support, working together.
So finding strength in numbers.
Exactly.
Coming together to challenge those in power.
It doesn't have to be about storming the barricades or anything.
Okay.
It can start with small acts of defiance,
Like what?
supporting local businesses
Instead of.
instead of those big corporations, opting out of the consumerist rat race,
Okay.
educating our kids outside the mainstream system.
So like finding alternatives.
Yeah, every time we choose a different path, we chip away at their power.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
It feels doable.
Right.
Even though the system is so huge.
We focus on what we can control.
What about the media? They have so much influence on people.
They do.
It seems like.
The sources suggest that mainstream media is often controlled by those same forces we've been talking about.
Seriously?
Yeah, they filter information, shape narratives, silence dissent.
That's scary.
So it's important to support alternative media.
Okay, so independent journalists, researchers,
Wow.
content creators who are providing different perspectives.
Exactly.
So we're talking about being more conscious of where we get our information
Exactly.
and supporting those who are speaking truth to power
Yes,
instead of funding the propaganda machine.
that's the idea.
Makes sense.
And it's not just the media,
What else?
the education system.
Okay.
They talk about it as a tool of indoctrination.
Wow.
It's designed to churn out obedient workers
Not critical thinkers.
Right.
So we need to push for reforms.
that encourage creativity, critical thinking, a deeper understanding of history and civics.
We need to teach kids how to think, not just what to think.
Exactly.
It feels overwhelming, though. Like, where do we even begin?
You start with what's in your control.
Okay.
Build strong local networks.
Okay.
Connect with like-minded people.
Right.
Support each other, share information.
Work together.
Yeah, to create change in your own communities.
It's about the power of human connection, right?
Exactly.
Building those bonds of trust and solidarity.
That can help us face these challenges together.
But these sources also talk about technology.
Yeah.
AI, nanotechnology, things that could be used to control us in ways we can't even imagine.
It's a valid concern.
How do we deal with that?
There's no easy answer.
Right.
These technologies are evolving so fast.
It's scary.
We need to have open and honest conversations about their impact on society.
So being proactive,
Yes.
not just waiting to see what happens.
Educating ourselves, engaging in these conversations, demanding transparency and accountability.
From those who are developing these technologies.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a more hopeful way to look at it.
And remember, technology itself isn't good or evil.
Well,
It's a tool.
it can be used for either.
It's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
I still have this nagging question, though.
Yeah.
If these forces are as powerful as these sources suggest, how can we possibly overcome them?
Remember what we said about knowledge being power?
Yeah.
The more we understand their tactics, the more we expose their lies.
Okay.
The more people will wake up and join the movement for change.
Like a domino effect.
Exactly. Once enough people start questioning, the whole system starts to crumble.
Okay. I can see how that could work.
It's a long game, though.
Yeah, they've had centuries to hone their strategies.
That's why self-care and community are so important.
How so?
We need those support networks to share information,
Right.
offer encouragement, celebrate victories.
And to take care of ourselves.
Exactly. Nurture our own well-being.
So we have the energy to keep going.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
And we need to find ways to stay inspired and connected.
And remember, we're not alone in this.
That's good to remember.
There are millions of people who are waking up to this reality,
Really.
and they're working to create a better future.
We're part of a global movement.
That's right, and it's growing every day.
It's like we're all drops in this vast ocean of change.
And together, we can create a wave.
That can wash away the old system.
Exactly.
But even with all the positive action we can take, it still seems daunting.
It is a huge challenge.
Do these sources offer any clues about how this might all play out?
That's a question we'll dig into in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But I will say this. The fact that they need to resort to deception, manipulation, and control suggests they're not as strong as they seem.
Interesting.
Their need to control reveals a fear of something.
What could they possibly be afraid of? So we were just talking about this idea that those in power, they might actually be afraid of something.
Yeah, like what if their power isn't as absolute as they want us to believe?
Okay, yeah.
What if all these elaborate systems of control, what if it's actually a sign of weakness?
That's a thought.
Not strength.
Well, what are they afraid of specifically?
I think they might be afraid of us waking up.
Waking up?
Yeah, like collectively seeing through the illusions, recognizing our own power.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They fear unity, a collective consciousness that goes beyond all those divisions they create.
Right, like they want to keep us divided,
Exactly.
distracted, dependent.
Because that's how they maintain their grip on power.
Makes sense. But if they do create this perfectly controlled world, what happens next? What's the end game?
That's where it gets really unsettling.
Okay.
The sources suggest they're looking at a future where technology is used to control human behavior.
Control? Like how?
On a biological level.
Whoa, wait, you mean like...
Imagine a world where they can manipulate our thoughts,
our thoughts.
our emotions, even our DNA.
To make us comply.
Yeah, to ensure complete compliance.
It sounds terrifying.
It's like something out of a dystopian sci-fi movie.
Seriously, are we taking microchips, genetic engineering, what?
These sources suggest all of those possibilities are on the table. They talk about using AI to analyze our data,
Uh-huh.
predict our behavior,
And then,
nanotechnology to manipulate our biology,
oh, wow.
genetic engineering to create a more, how do they put it, manageable population.
So they want to control our very essence.
It's a chilling thought.
It really is.
It's like they're trying to engineer the human spirit out of existence.
We need to stay vigilant,
Absolutely.
question these advancements.
Make sure they're being used ethically.
These sources do talk about some forces working against this, though, right?
Yeah, it's not always clear who they are.
Okay.
But it seems like a loose network of people and groups who are aware of the dangers.
And they're trying to stop it,
Yeah, disrupting this agenda however they can.
like hackers exposing secrets,
Could be. Whistleblowers revealing corruption.
scientists refusing to cooperate.
Possibly. Maybe even people within the system working to undermine it from the inside.
So it's like this secret war is going on,
A battle for the future of humanity.
playing out behind the scenes.
And one of their biggest weapons is deception.
Deception how?
They infiltrate institutions, co-opt movements, even use our own idealism against us.
So how do we know who to trust?
It's tough.
It really is.
The sources say we need to be discerning,
Okay.
question everything, trust our intuition.
But how do we navigate all this?
I think the sources are pointing us inward.
Inward.
Yeah. Focus on personal transformation,
What do you mean?
cultivating awareness, compassion, critical thinking.
So it's not just about fighting against something.
It's about creating something new,
Okay.
embodying the values and qualities they fear the most.
Like what?
Love, compassion, creativity, unity.
Those are powerful things.
They are.
This has been a real eye-opener.
It has been a deep dive
It really has.
into some pretty intense stuff.
It's made me think about power and control in a new way.
I'm glad to hear that.
But it's also made me feel more empowered to play my part in creating a different future.
That's the spirit.
We have more power than we realize.
We do.
By embracing our potential, connecting with each other, acting with courage and compassion, we can create a better world.
A world where humanity thrives.
In freedom, peace, and harmony.
That's the vision.
Thank you for guiding us through all of this.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep questioning, keep connecting, and keep creating the world you want to see.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope this episode has inspired you to think critically, question everything, and never give up hope for a better future.
See you next time.